see in our lifetime. We're going to invest in projects that we're not going to see the fruit of it right now. But I believe that this church is thinking about tomorrow. How many would love to see a church for the next generation? I've been in churches where, man, you couldn't even feel the breath of young people in there. You felt the stench of old people in there. No disrespect to any church, but you felt of it where it was not lively, it was not young. But, I want a church that is lively, where I feel like there's a passion for our youth, a passion for our children, our passion for our young adults, a passion for, just continuing on the legacy and growing even further. And to God be the glory. I believe that this is a season to plant for things that we're not going to see right now. And part about building a legacy is learning to invest in that legacy. This is a season for investing. I'll tell you this. I challenge you as well to be diligent and be faithful with your tithes and offerings. Because you will see what God does as you invest into the legacy for the next generation. Because you will see the spiritual breakthroughs that happen in your life when you release what is in your hands. And you say, God, here it is. You can do more with what I have given you than what I can if I keep everything. I give it all to you. This is a season of legacy. And he says the descendants, verse 9, will be recognized and honored among the nations. The descendants recognized and honored. He's speaking about a group of people that were enslaved for years. Isaiah is speaking about people that have literally been people without a home, captive, nomads. But he says that maybe not right now. There's going to be a season in the future where they're going to be honored among nations. Everyone will realize that they are people the Lord has blessed. I pray that blessing and prayer over our church right now. Anybody believe that right now? That people would recognize that our church is blessed. I'm encouraged by what God is doing in this church. On Friday night, I was at home, and my wife and I, she got home from work, and Friday night we like to kind of like, we go out, and we go out as a family. Our world where Friday night we try to go to Costco. That's kind of our place. That's our date night. All right, we have hot dogs and pizza at Costco. That's what we got. That's family, and get what we need to get. And to our surprise, where was all the toilet paper at and all the water? What did everybody doing? But we found some water. Around 10 o'clock, I get a phone call. And it's a different phone call because it comes from another pastor friend of mine that comes and he calls. And I thought it was very random, but I was wondering, hey, what's going on? So I answer the phone call. And as I'm answering this phone call, I answer it, and it's another pastor friend, not the one that actually called me from his number, but it's another pastor friend that calls me, and he says, hey, George, we're at a special service right now here in the city of Houston, with a bunch of churches right now. And the person that was ministering, mind you, this guy has never met me. This person has never seen me before. We have never had an interaction with each other. But the person that was preaching, the altar call's happening, and it came to his mind, and it said he thought of you, and he described you, and he said, I need to call George. Imagine with me how God works. So I'm like, okay, I'm listening. I'm here. And I hear all this background noise. The worship is going on. Everything's happening. And they put this minister on the phone who is literally speaking a prophetic word. Never met me before. Doesn't know me. Doesn't know my name. Doesn't know what we've been through. Doesn't know when we started the church. Knows nothing about anything about what's going on. But he knew that he had something from God. I believe this is real. When it's genuine, when it's from the heart, when God speaks to people, God can make things happen. And God can give prophetic words and wisdom and words of knowledge that we cannot perceive where it came from, but we can only describe it as coming from the Spirit of God. Anybody believe that? So he speaks over to me and he says, George Carballo, your church started in 2019. I was like, well, I'm like, this is cool. And I'm listening to this. And he says, get ready, because the season of serving that you've had over the past 5 years, get ready, because God is about to do something incredible to grow this church and ministry. And he says, if he did it in your wife and to bless her with a child, imagine what is going to be birthed through this church as well. He says, get ready, because God gives, God takes away. But believe for me what's going to happen in this ministry, in this church. And that was the end of the conversation. And I say praise God to that. That doesn't happen very often, but it awakens my heart and it comforts my spirit to know that God is speaking not just through your servant here today, but through other people that you've never even seen, ever met before, that have never walked through the doors of this place, that are ready to speak life over this church. But I'm hoping that you listen to what I'm telling you right now and you be encouraged for the same and believe in the dream that God has given us in this church today. This church is in your hands today. What do you want to do with this church? He says, I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave to the next generation. He says, everyone will realize there are people the Lord has blessed. I want people in our city to realize that there's blessing and favor in this church. I want to tell you this, don't ever discredit this church because you only see a handful of people or a few families. I want to tell you there's great impact in this place, in this community, far beyond than what you realize. Because God is not done with this place. And the last thing is, I believe this is a season of worship to God. Because I'm overwhelmed, verse 10, I'm overwhelmed with joy for the Lord my God. He has dressed me with the clothing of salvation, draped me with the robe of righteousness. I am like a bridegroom dressed for his wedding, or a bride with her jewels. Because I'm like a bridegroom dressed for his wedding. Anybody remember your wedding day? I remember my wedding day. It was amazing. Love my wife. We just celebrated 10 years back in August, and it's been an amazing journey over the past 10 years. But there's always that anticipation of getting things ready. And if you've ever planned a wedding or put something together, you know it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort, family, friends. You know,